Early candidate favorability ratings have been released by EP Official, as over 5,000 respondents weighed in on the 7 candidates that have already announced their intentions to run for president in 2024. The poll was weighted for accurate representation of the electorate in terms of party ID and ideology. The first candidate on the list is the unanimous frontrunner for the Democratic nomination at this point in time, Vice President Kamala Harris. She held better approval ratings than both of the major ticket candidates in 2020, Joe Biden and Donald Trump, but polled relatively equally to her electoral counterpart, former Vice President Mike Pence. In this poll, for initial favorability rating for 2024, she holds the approval of 40% of voters and the disapproval of 54% of voters. That rounds out to a net negative 14% rating, which ranks 6th out of the 7 candidates. She also holds the support of 77% of the Democratic Party, which ranks 2nd out of the 3 Democratic candidates. Also, only 6% of Republicans approve of her, the lowest of any candidate in this list, which is not really surprising given her polarizing status as the sitting Democratic vice president. Finally, though, she holds just a 36% approval among independent voters, which is 2nd of the 3 Democratic candidates that have announced their campaigns as well. Again, these are just preliminary numbers, and we will see where other Democratic candidates stand among Democratic voters going forward. But Vice President Kamala Harris cannot count on name recognition alone in what is expected to be an extremely crowded contest. The next candidate on this list is Republican Governor of South Dakota, Kristi Noem, who is still pretty unknown on the national stage and thus only received 35% approval compared to 44% disapproval. That leaves 21% of the electorate undecided as to whether they could support Governor Noem in her presidential run. But it also rounds out to a net negative 9% rating, which ranks 4th out of the 7 candidates. Notably, her 21% approval among independent voters is the lowest of any of her Republican opponents. But she does hold a 76% approval rating among her own party, which ranks at a healthy 2nd. The 2nd Democrat on this list, billionaire former CEO of Starbucks Howard Schultz, is far and away the most unlikable candidate, holding just a 16% favorability compared to 49% unfavorability. That does, however, leave a lot of room for improvement among undecideds for Howard Schultz on the campaign trail, but it is certainly not a good sign that his lowest approval is among his own party, as just 14% of Democratic voters approve of his candidacy. This could have a lot to do with his billionaire status and him teasing a third-party run in 2020. Either way, he has a lot of ground to make up in this election cycle. Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy is next on this list, with a 34% approval rating and 47% disapproval rating. That gives him a net negative 13% rating, which is the lowest of any Republican candidate and 5th overall. He also ranks dead last among his Republican opponents with Democratic voters, and he comes in 3rd in his own party and with independents. These are not the kind of numbers his campaign will have hoped for this early on, but the gap between him and his Republican opponents is not much overall. The last Democratic candidate that has already announced their intention to run is Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, and he enjoys the highest net favorability of any candidate on either side at positive 18%. A majority of voters approve of him at 52%, with only 34% of voters disapproving of his candidacy. Most importantly, he ranks 1st among Democratic candidates in every category, and boasts an impressive 21% favorability among Republican voters, to go along with 58% of independents. Buttigieg is among a group of Democratic hopefuls considered to be in the first tier of candidates on a national stage, and we will have to wait and see where those other candidates rank besides VP Kamala Harris. Penultimately, we have an outspoken Republican Trump critic, Senator Ben Sasse, who voted to convict President Donald Trump for the impeachment charges brought against him for inciting the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol. As you would expect as a result, his approval among the Republican Party is relatively low at 36%, and that contributes to his low 30% favorability overall. His disapproval, however, is just 37%, tied for the second lowest of any candidate, and that allows for his net favorability to be -7, which ranks third overall. Furthermore, his 40% approval among independent voters ranks third overall as well. These are mixed numbers for the senator from Nebraska, but there is a lot of time between now and the primaries in 2024. Our final candidate today is Nikki Haley, who boasts the highest favorability of any candidate at 53%, and the second highest net favorability at +16%. She ranks first among all Republicans in every voting bloc and is certainly considered to be one of the early frontrunners for the nomination in 2024. That is, if the Republican Party decides to shift away from Trumpism. The best argument that has been made for her nomination by Republican leaders has been her consistent support across the aisle, and that holds up in this poll, with 54% of independents approving of her candidacy and a surprisingly high 27% of Democrats holding her in high regard. Democratic House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries has announced that he has launched an exploratory committee to run for president in 2024, serving as the United States Representative for New York's 8th Congressional District since 2013. Jeffries emerged as the leading contender to replace Nancy Pelosi in the speakership if the Democrats had held on to their majority in the House in the 2022 midterms. The Democrats, however, were unsuccessful in doing so, and instead, he has been selected as the Democratic House Minority Leader for the upcoming 118th United States Congress. He previously served as chairman of the House Democratic Caucus since 2019 as well. Sean Hannity, Fox News TV host and television personality, announced last night on the Sean Hannity Show that he will be running for the Republican nomination in 2024. Hannity was an early supporter of Donald Trump in the 2016 Republican primaries and practically served as the unofficial spokesperson for the president on Fox News. Hannity is a nationally recognized figure within the party, and likely holds the unyielding support of Trump enthusiasts within the Republican electorate. United States Representative Democrat Val Demings has stated her intention to run for the presidency in 2024. Former chief of the Orlando Police Department, Demings has served as Congresswoman for Florida's 10th Congressional District since 2017. And she was selected by Nancy Pelosi to serve as an impeachment manager in the Senate impeachment trial of former President Donald Trump. In August of 2020, Demings emerged as one of the leading contenders for Joe Biden's search for a vice presidential running mate before he ultimately decided on Kamala Harris. Recently re-elected governor of New Hampshire, Chris Sununu, is the second Republican governor to launch a bid for the White House in 2024. Chris Sununu is a son of former New Hampshire governor and White House Chief of Staff John H. Sununu, and a younger brother of former New Hampshire United States Senator John E. Sununu. Chris Sununu is considered by most to be a moderate Republican, who is in favor of tax cuts, but taking liberal stances on social issues such as abortion, where he has stated he is pro-choice. A major announcement out of the Empire State today, as former governor of New York Andrew Cuomo has officially launched an exploratory committee for the Democratic nomination in 2024. Cuomo announced in early 2022 that he would not be seeking a fourth term as governor of New York, sparking wide belief that his presidential candidacy was a matter of when, not if. He received national attention and recognition for his response to the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, and served as the chair of the National Governors Association since 2020 as well. Widely regarded as one of the favorites for the Democratic nomination, Cuomo joins a growing field of Democrats all vying for mass media attention. A third Republican governor has launched a presidential bid. This time it is Governor of Texas, Greg Abbott. Abbott is just the third governor in American history to permanently use a wheelchair and the first disabled governor in Texas history. He formerly served as a justice on the Texas Supreme Court and as Attorney General of the state between 2002 and 2015. Abbott came under controversy for his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, never instituting a statewide mask mandate. He is also considered to be a hard conservative on various social issues, such as abortion, same-sex marriage, and immigration. Finally, Abbott has held close ties to the Trump administration throughout his presidency. Let's take a look at the updated Democratic and Republican primary fields following the latest wave of campaign announcements. On the Democratic Party side, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, Congresswoman Val Demings, and former Governor Andrew Cuomo have joined Vice President Kamala Harris, Secretary Pete Buttigieg, and billionaire Howard Schultz. In total, 6 Democrats have either officially launched their campaigns or formed exploratory committees. And at this point in the 2020 presidential primary cycle, 8 prominent Democrats had done either of those two things. If we continue to see that sort of pace be set, we should expect that there will be likely anywhere from 15 to 25 candidates at one point or another throughout this cycle for the Democrats. As for the GOP, Fox News host Sean Hannity, Governor Chris Sununu, and Governor Greg Abbott have joined Nikki Haley, Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy, Senator Ben Sasse, and Governor Kristi Noem. There will more than likely be more Republican candidates than Democrats at the peak of each respective primary, but we will save that for future episodes. I hope you all enjoyed the second episode of the 2024 primary series. Hopefully these uploads will be more consistent going forward since the 2020 cycle is officially over. Please let me know down below in the comment section what type of videos you would like to see from this channel going forward outside of this series. Your thoughts and ideas would be greatly appreciated. Make sure to like this episode down below if you did, as well as subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you all so much for watching. Check out more content from my channel right here. And as always, tune in next time. EP out.